Great, thank you. So handouts coming. Depending on what shows you watch, different solutions are going to be right for you. I broke down the handout by basically price, and you can see live TV, which is very, very rare. So the things to remember here is this is one I kind of stuck in the end here, but that was one of the major changes that I personally, when I cut the cable, I was thrown for a loop, because you can't sit down, turn on the TV, and just surf. You have to have a game plan when you want to watch TV, which is something new. But the way the prices are, it's worth the adjustment for sure. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the library, because I'm a librarian, and it's self-serving, but I'm okay with that. And so the MBLC has, with your library, you can go to, so your library is newburylibrary.org. So you can go here and you come into the catalog, and you can do what they call a zero-sum search. And in this bar here, if I go down to TV and movies and just click search, I can do a browse essentially about all the TV shows and movies physically in this building. So the Newbury Library has 5,500 DVDs with movies and TV shows and documentaries and all that kind of stuff. But because we all belong to the same consortium, if I click here, what this does is that will open up the search to all 36 member libraries, meaning that you have access to over 60,000 TV shows and movies. The one caveat, because there's always a caveat, is the TV shows and movies are usually delayed. So they don't release the season of a TV show until the current season is over. So you're always kind of a year behind. So this is the cheapest way. So you could cut the cord, and as long as you have a DVD player, it wouldn't cost you any money to watch TV anymore. You would just be a year behind on new TV shows, but depending on how much you can kind of cut yourself off from the gossip and all the good shows out there, it might be worth it. So this is the free option, just that. And I don't know how familiar you are with working your queue. So the way that you can do it is if you log in here with your card number, and you go into your account, what you can do is you kind of plan ahead, right? So you know you want to have a certain number of holds, and I don't know what's going to be in here, so don't judge me. So what you can do is you can request things and then suspend them. And so what this means is that if you're watching, say The Big Bang Theory, I just finished season 11 because it was just released, and so you're working your way through there, and you place a hold on season 1 and season 2. But you want to make sure that you watch season 1 before season 2, because that's the way you're supposed to do. What you can do is you can suspend the hold and release them. So what you have to do, like I said earlier, is you're going to have to do your homework and figure out what you want to watch. And you can see you can build your queue. And so you can place a hold on all the seasons. So actually, I'll show you that process. So if I go for we won't go back that far. So here's season 7, right? So if I place a hold, and then you only have to set it once. This is new, so if you have to select the volume, just make sure that you select all of the discs. Because for a while, what the libraries were doing was circulating one disc at a time per season, but we've kind of changed. So what this means is this is all of the discs. So if I place a hold, and then I go OK, and then I go here's season. Where's season 8? As you can see, it takes a little work. There it is. Season 8. So I place a hold here, and then I go back.
Do you mean this is like a digital hold, or if from the library?
This is a physical. This is a physical hold. Yeah, this is a physical hold. Yep. So. I don't know, do we have any digital streaming services here? Do you have Hoopla or something like that?
We have Canopy.
Yeah, so
brand new.
Yeah, so that would be different. Like that would be immediate, and you need an internet connection, and that's why I started with this one, because you don't need an internet connection. So I'll get right back to that. That's a good point here. So you can see that I have the two, season 7 and season 8, and I want to make sure that season 7 comes first. So if I just click this and then suspend the hold, starting there. So that will guarantee that season 7 comes before season 8. So, like I said, you have to do a little work. You can do this with, there is no limit on how many items that you can place holds on. And so you can kind of, so like when I finish like the second disc or something, I can come in here and I can unsuspend the hold, and that way in a couple of days, the next season will be there for me. And so that's how you kind of cut the cable and not have to spend anything. It's kind of tough to do just that, but that is your cheapest option. And that's why I wanted to start there. So it's only going to get worse from here. So the next one we have is this is in conjunction, right? So the digital antenna is the rabbit ears of the 21st century, right? And so it's just a piece of hardware here. This is the one that I have. It's like $30. And so it connects to your TV through a coaxial cable. You make sure that you put it up in a window or up somewhere high, and you can get 4 or 5 sets, CBS, NBC, all the Fox, stuff like that. And you are at the mercy of the weather, unfortunately. So if it's rainy or overcast, you might have poor reception. I actually live in like a hilly kind of area, so I don't get good reception for CBS, whichever station that is. Yes?
Do you have to be within so many miles of the station?
So, yes, and so that is, so you can actually see, how your reception is by going to the FCC actually. So you can just like Google DTV reception maps, and you can see how good the stations came in. So I already put in Newbury, and so these are the stations that come in for you guys here. And you can see that CBS, ABC, Fox, PBS, they come in fairly well. And that just means that the originating source of the signal is close. But then you get down here, right? So it looks like you might have some of the similar issues. So one of the CBS channels, the reception isn't too good. That doesn't mean you won't get it. It just means it might flicker, and you might have to get up there and move it around.
Does it improve? Because when we tried to do an antenna,
Yeah.
we didn't get anything.
So it's tough. It is. You are at the mercy of where you live, essentially. So you can try to do a couple different things. Is try a more expensive model. They do have outdoor antennas that you can get. You're going to get up into the $100-something range for that. But you can kind of try to buy more expensive hardware. You can get a longer coaxial cable to physically move it to a different part of your house. But it's no sure bet. It just depends. Yes?
Does it include HD? Kind of?
It's digital, not HD though. Yeah, so it's better than the bunny ears, but it's not HD. Yes?
Is there any way to amplify the signal?
Hardware, yeah. So there would be, you just have to buy a bigger antenna essentially, and there might be amplifiers and stuff like that. But again, it just depends on how much you want to spend.
I guess I just wanted to suggest to people, save your receipt in your box.
Absolutely, that's always a good idea. And ask for the return policy.
Right.
At Best Buys and Staples, they usually have some pretty good ones. You can always order them on Amazon, but the return policy is sometimes a little iffy there. So you probably don't want to physically buy one of these things and just try it out, because it may not work for you. And so this is actually, the library and the digital antenna. The digital antenna is going to cost you a little bit, depending on where you live. It might be more expensive because, like I said, I have this $30 one, and it's just there's nothing to like adjust. You have to physically move it. It's a big square box about that big. You kind of move it around, and if you have bad reception, and I actually have sometimes my dog walks through the room and he walks through the signal and he gets frizzy. It's up in the air. Yep, so it's a coaxial cable. So this thing here, your cable, it's the same cord that your cable attaches to your TV with. And so you just screw it into your TV. There you go. So
You need one antenna per TV.
yes, yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah, So those are free. So those two options, you can you can cut the cable, including internet. Of course, I was showing you how to place holds. You would need the internet to do that. Or I think we have computers that you can come here and manage your queue there. But after these two, you can see the one-time fee. Like I said, it's like 30 bucks at the low end, but it can get expensive fairly quickly. Now everything else on this is going to be, you're going to need an internet connection. So a lot of the cable companies will say, well, if you get cable and internet and the phone, it's cheaper per item. But if you're not using the other items, yeah, that's a false positive there. So don't be fooled by the marketing ploys. And yeah, it would be cheaper. So like, I know some of the files going where I have $35 a month because if you flip on the back of your sheet, I was able to find a page that gives you I searched providers, and supposedly Xfinity has a $40 deal, and there's the number that you can call them and see if that is the deal. That might be a new customer deal. There might be some restrictions. So you have different options here. It looks like in this area, you do have two. You have Comcast, or Xfinity, and Verizon now. Some cities only have one, so you do have some choice. And it may be, so I have RCN, and the first year we had it, it was $34 a month. The second year, it was $44 a month. The third year, and now it's been like 6 years, and it seemed to have plateaued at like $64 a month or something like that. So that's the starting price, but you're probably going to pay more. Yes?
We don't have Verizon.
You don't have Verizon? Interesting. Okay, so don't believe everything you read on the internet.
Newbury, yeah.
West
Newbury.
Interesting. So you don't have a choice.
Yeah, it wouldn't be.
And you do have, and if these are even correct, so there's it looks like that site believed that you had some satellite, but I would stick with the Xfinity. So that's your only choice. See what kind of deals you can get. Threaten to leave. They don't know that they're the only game in town because the people you're dealing with are just entry-level help desks. Try. Yes, sir.
But all Verizon lines have DSL.
Yeah, so broadband, you don't have to worry. So it's actually higher than that now. So DSL was the step above dial-up, which just gives me shivers. So broadband is a step below fiber. So fiber optic is the Fios is what you're getting on. So any connection that you can get in Massachusetts essentially is going to be broadband. So you're going to have plenty. Of speed. And I did do some research on it on the speed limit. And so because when you're streaming, which I'll explain in a little bit, you're constantly getting information from the servers. So you're not downloading an entire file. And all the streaming services recommend you have a 5 megabits per second connection. The lowest you can usually get is 10, so even that, you're double. So I usually recommend if you are looking for speeds and they give you a choice, go to the middle. You can probably get away with the low end, but if there's more traffic on the network, it might get sluggish. So you don't need the fast stuff. They're going to say if you're streaming video, you want the fast stuff. Of course they're going to say that. So you can stick to the middle road, and you should be fine with that. So what the streaming is when you go onto a website that allows you to play video, instead of downloading the entire file before you can read it, or watch it in this case, it delivers it to you in chunks. And so it delivers you the first 5 minutes, and then as you're watching that, it's pulling down the next 5 minutes, and so on. And so that's why you have to watch out for the speed. And if you've ever watched a video online and you see like a little gray bar at the bottom, that's what they call the buffering. That means that's how much is locally on your computer, and you can't watch anything without a delay after that. And so what I'll do here is I'll show you the player for one of them, and they all look very similar. All of the national networks, so the stations that you can get with a digital antenna, have and cable channels as well. They all have websites, and most of the time, what they're going to allow you to do is to watch the last few episodes of the current seasons of their show. You're still going to get ads because you're not paying for it at this point. You're just watching the latest few. The issue here is you can't go back after that. So usually if you're in the middle of the season, you're not going to be able to start with the first episode of the season because they take it away. And that's the free option. So with this, if you had an internet connection, you could still watch TV, but not live TV. So there's usually what they call the embargo period, where it's 24 to 48 hours after broadcasting it live on TV, they'll allow it for streaming. And so you just go to the website, the network that puts out the show that you want, and you just search for it. And so this is where your homework comes in. Find out what shows you like to watch, and then you got to find out what networks they're on. Because I'll show you, as we'll see after this one, is sometimes it's available and sometimes it's not. But I'm just going to go ahead and show one of them. So what I can do here is you can go to shows. All the websites are going to have something similar. Either at the top or like in the middle of the page, there's going to be a menu bar, and it's going to have a list of shows. And you just pick a show, and it'll take you to that show's webpage. So I actually didn't watch this. So this is America's Got Talent, and you can see if you scroll down, you have new shows, right? So you can see at this point, this is season 13, episode 28, and then 27, and then below that you're probably going to get clips and stuff. Yeah, so you have, it looks like you have 24 through 28 available to watch, and then of course they're going to give you little clips, which are like 2-minute, 3-minute chunks of a video. But to watch the episode, you just click they call it the thumbnail image. You just click the thumbnail image and it's going to load that episode. And the first thing it's going to do is give you an ad. Because of course you can't get away from commercials. So the control bar is going to be very similar. So this is the image. You can see one-on-one ads. Here's my pause button. And I guess it doesn't always work. It might be, yeah. So I have so many tabs open. This is probably not, hopefully, not going to happen to you. It finally caught up with my click, so now I can play again. Here's my volume button, and anytime you see like a square in the lower right-hand corner, it's going to be your full screen. And that's probably how you're going to watch it. And so
You can't speed through the commercials.
No.
right. So sometimes, right? So you can see it's really tough to see, but on the bottom there's what they call the progress bar. And then there's little rectangles spaced periodically. Those are when the commercials kick in. You can see how long it is. There's your play button, and then they have the progress bar, and you can just actually click that circle and drag it to fast forward. And so if I click and drag, actually, it's interesting because this doesn't always work, because I was able to go right past that commercial. So just because it worked this time doesn't mean it's always going to work. Usually what it's going to do is going to stop you, because that's how they make the money, because I'm not paying anything to watch this. So I wear hearing aids, so I can't watch TV without closed caption, and most of these now do have a closed caption option, which is fantastic. Although I don't know how great a singer he is, so maybe I don't want to hear him. Yes, yeah, they did. Yep. I think somebody made copies, so if you didn't get a handout at the end, see either me or the friends.
There's actually somewhere on the table.
Okay, so there's back there if you need this, back around the table if you need them. Thank you.
Sure.
So yeah, so this is how you would watch the last few episodes. So this is the player. It's going to be very similar. You're going to have the full screen, and then very down below you're going to have the progress bar.
But this is on your
And so to get out of it, you just hit that again, and then pause it.
Smart.
This is on your computer, though.
Yes, this is right.
Not-
Yep.
right,
So,
this, no, but this, if you did it at this point, it would be on your computer, not on your TV, because you haven't sent it over to your TV.
so you're kind of getting the hint, but that's fine. Because what you could do is, this is basically my setup. So what you can do is if you don't have a smart TV, which we'll get into a little later, is you can just control it on your computer and then buy an HDMI cord. And so that's actually how you're seeing my computer there, is that there's a cord that I have attached to the computer that's sending the signal. There are other devices that you can get. You can get a Chromecast or a Fire Stick or all that kind of stuff. But I always recommend the HDMI in a laptop, because you can go to all those sites. The problem with those preloaded devices like the Roku or the Amazon Fire and stuff like that, is you can only watch the apps that they have for those devices. So it's like your phone. They have to build the application. So the Netflix app or the CBS app or whatever has to be available on those devices, and they're not always on it. And so I always have a browser on the computer. So you just launch the browser, and I don't need any apps, and so it gives you more flexibility. And so you can see here, if you have a laptop already, a good HDMI cord will cost you $9. And so the one thing I will mention is this is a 10-foot cord. You probably want a little longer one. Otherwise, you have it next to your TV, and you have to get up and pause it and stuff like that. So make sure that you have a cord long enough to get to your couch, and you can just use your computer and send the streaming to your TV.
What have you got over there that's connected to what?
The HDMI cord.
Yeah, but it's connected from your laptop to what?
Well, it's a little different. So this is a projector, but the architecture is the same. So there's in this little case, there's a port, like in the back of your TV. So it connects to the port and then feeds the signal into that thing.
It's like a Bluetooth or something like that.
It's a little wired. So that's always good because the wired is going to be quicker. Anytime you send things over the wireless, it can be physical impediments to it. So stick with the
is the HDMI connected right to the TV.
Exactly. So if you look at the back of your TV, it's going to have a bunch of ports, and one of them is going to have an HDMI port. The newer TVs have them labeled, but just look for that. It's kind of like a squashed little house, I think. Yes?
Do you have to have a dedicated computer for that, or can you use your computer?
You can use your own
Or
computer.
someone's watching something?
You can put anything there. So you saw like I have Word that you were seeing, so it doesn't matter. So basically, the HDMI cord makes your TV a monitor for your computer. So you can see the sounds travels through it too. So the sound isn't coming from my speakers, it's coming from those guys. So the signal goes all the way through. So that's just the HDMI cord is just a one-time cost. And again, you're going to need your internet connection in order to stream anything, or you don't even need to. So in this case, if you had a DVD player on your computer, which don't always come, you could use the library, get the DVDs, put them on your computer with the HDMI cord, send it to the TV. It would be no cost. You wouldn't be using that. No. So national website. So the national network website. So just anything you can get with a digital antenna. The same thing works for cable networks. So we have Comedy Central. The same thing would happen with Comedy Central. That happens with NBC. But I will back up for 1 second because this is always changing. So CBS has started. They have this CBS All Access, and so you can watch live CBS shows through their app if you have the internet, right? The one thing they did do last year, which kind of annoyed me, is with the new Star Trek, they broadcast the first episode live on TV, and then if you wanted to watch the rest of the season, you had to subscribe to CBS All Access. They don't show it on TV anymore. So I don't know if that's a model where every single channel is going to have their own streaming service, which you can kind of see that, like, wait a minute, didn't cable get rid of that? You don't have to pick and choose. It bundles everything together. And I don't know, because all these stations are starting to do it, and it might. I really don't. I don't know, but there's that to keep in mind. So definitely keep an eye on the networks that have the shows that you want, because CBS. I don't think you can even watch any current CBS shows, or it's even more limited on CBS without paying for All Access. The good thing with All Access is it gives you access to all of the seasons for all of their shows. So like NBC, you could only see the current shows. You couldn't see something that was canceled, and they don't go away with an All Access option. So that's annoying. But another thing that's the Comedy Central, all those kind of I don't know what I use as examples here. HBO. So you have regular cable channels, and then you have the premium cable channels. If you have HBO, or you don't have HBO and you just wanted HBO, the HBO Now option is the same thing as NBC. So you subscribe to it, and I think HBO Now is like $14 NBC a month. The CBS All Access was like $8 a month. And a lot of these things are tiering, so that means that CBS All Access is like $8 a month if you want commercials. If you don't want commercials, and like $12 if you don't want to get rid of the commercials. So it depends on how much you're gonna pay. Obviously, there's no commercials on HBO, but be careful if you're looking for HBO, because they have two offerings, because of course they do. And they have HBO Go. And the HBO Go is something that cable companies are trying to push out more and more. All HBO Go allows you to do is to watch your HBO cable subscription on your TV, on your computer. And so a lot of the cable companies and the channels are kind of partnering together, because they realize that it's a bit of a double dipping scenario where you buy your cable and your internet from the same company. So why should I have to pay twice to get it on my computer? It's because they have the power and they're making you do it. So I just mentioned that because make sure that if you're signing up for some of these network stations or cable stations, make sure you read the fine print, because it'll tell you whether you need a cable subscription in order to watch the network online. And so HBO Go should go away. You should do HBO Now, if that is a problem.
HBO.
No, not online. There's HBO, but that's cable HBO. So
Now.
HBO Now is the one, the cable-free offer. So you just pay like $14 a month or something like that, and you can watch it. And again, this is the good. All of these paid-for services, you can watch every episode of every season. With like CBS television, NBC. The NBC are showing you, it was the current season, only last 5 episodes. So now we're into a different realm because you're paying for it. So you're paying for access to everything. Yeah, here we go. So you can say $15 a month. A good thing about all of these streaming packages is that you're not locked into a contract. So you could try it for a month and cancel it and move on. So you don't have to worry about getting HBO and they're like, oh, I don't watch anything here, and I'm stuck for a year. You're not. You can cancel anytime for all of these, and most of them give you a free trial. So if you have like a week and you're snowed in or something, you can kind of try it out for a week. I think that as we get into like the live TV streaming options, it gets condensed to like 5 days or something. Netflix, I think, and Amazon Prime is like a 30-day trial. So most of these services are going to give you at least a week trial, so you can see if it's worth it. And then cancel, and don't worry about getting stuck for a year, which is good. Oh, this is another one. This is an ad, that's what that is. So something that I wanted to mention, DC, the comic company, has in the works, it has their own streaming service. So what that means is that because of Netflix and Amazon, they have to create agreements with each one of the studios in order to broadcast their stuff. And DC is going to start pulling back. And so like Batman or Superman or all that kind of stuff you won't be able to watch, which I guess the later movies it doesn't matter that much because they're not very good. But the problem is here, Disney is doing the same thing. And that means that all the Disney movies, all the Marvel movies, because Disney now owns Star Wars, all of that stuff is being pulled back. So if you like to watch those kind of movies, you'd have to subscribe to the Disney streaming service. So it's, again, the splintering of offerings, which is quite annoying. So now we get into I'm sorry, any other questions in general? So now we get into the one, basically this is what started it all, Netflix. The story goes that the Netflix owner racked up like $93 in like late fees for Jurassic Park or something. And he's like, that's it, I'm making my own business. And they did, and they're really, really popular. And so you have two different options here. So you can actually do a Netflix plan with just DVDs. And so that means that it's a mail-in service, and you wouldn't need an internet connection for that. I'll tell you, the selection for movies is a lot better with the DVD set, the DVD plan. And you can see here's your price range. And there's no late fees, so you can keep the discs for as long as you want. In the unlimited 2 plans, you can keep them for as long as you want. You just won't be able to get another one until you return those. They do have a really cheap plan. It means you can basically get 2 movies a month for $5, and you wouldn't need an internet connection. So there's something there. But what most people do nowadays, and I am one of them, is they have a streaming. You have the streaming plan, and so I have a standard streaming plan. And here we go. We get into HD, right? So these streaming services will be in high definition, as long as your computer and TV can support that resolution. Yeah, Ultra HD, you can ignore that, because no TVs have it yet. So with this, here we go. So you can see, so my wife and I have, we each have a profile, which I'll talk about in a minute. So if we both wanted to watch Netflix on separate computers, we could do that with our current plan. So it's fairly cheap. This is a month-to-month thing, so you can cancel it. I will say this is going up soon. So these prices are baseline. Yes?
What is your strategy for finding what you want to watch?
Just like do like a Google search or something. And they remove things every month, and they add things every month.
Then you find it.
Yeah.
Okay. And,
But you add it to your profile, yeah.
well, you can add it to your profile.
Yeah.
From your computer, you can add it to your profile, and then you can go on the TV and go to your profile.
Right.
It will be there.
Yeah, so what she's talking about is something called a smart TV. So a smart TV is basically a TV with apps loaded on it. And so you'll get the Netflix app, and as long as you're connected to the internet, I can manage my queue here, which is a heck of a lot easier than trying to type with my remote, and all of my queue will be added to my TV, so you can manage it that way. What I was saying a little earlier was that every month something comes out, and every month something, they have to constantly renegotiate with the companies that put everything out, which means that it's constantly changing, and so it's not always going to be there. And that's the danger you get with this, because they can pull a series. Like they have, I was a big fan of, I hate autoplay. Oh, websites that need to stop. You know, if you're on a website and you're reading something, and all of a sudden there's sound coming from somewhere. Oh, it's so annoying.
Turn off your speakers.
So it's constantly changing. They're constantly adding and removing movies. And so what I was saying earlier, when Disney comes out with a Disney streaming service, Solo will no longer be there because they're going to pull the content. There was, oh my God. So the Friends TV show, I can't remember what studio owned it, but they were pulling Friends from Netflix, and Netflix got so scared that they ended up paying $100 million for 1 year of streaming for Netflix. So this is the kind of money these companies are playing with. It's ridiculous. Wow. So it is there, but that's the kind of danger if you're using one of these streaming services, is they can pull like the show that you watch all the time, any month, and there's nothing you can do about it. But they do have a good amount of stuff, and you can put in they have a lot of good original programming. Like the House of Cards was the first streaming service original programming, and it kind of set the tone, and they're looking to get, I want to say 50% original programming by like 2025 or something. So you're going to see a lot less of non-Netflix. So you can see that's produced by Netflix. That is, obviously that's not. So it's becoming where Netflix isn't no longer what they call an aggregator of shows, where it takes it from NBC and Fox and HBO and all that kind of stuff. They're creating their own content now. So you can go online and like look at reviews of the shows they put on and see if it's something that you want to do. The good thing with these kind of services is you can have, I think, up to 5 profiles. So my wife and I have our own profiles, which is good because we don't have the exact same tastes. And so the great thing about having the profiles, you can rate the shows you watch, and based on what you rate, it will suggest new shows to you. So if my wife and I only had one profile, I think Netflix would be very confused and just recommend everything or nothing. And so if you have multiple family members, it's good to create profiles, and that way you can create your own lists and you can make your own ratings and stuff like that.
How does Hulu work?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So different kind of company, and I'm glad that you mentioned Hulu, because Hulu's another one. Same basic thing. So they have to create their own, they have to negotiate their own terms. Hulu has, I think they have Fox, so they have the Fox network, their shows, I think they have an agreement with Fox, and Netflix doesn't. So if your show is on Fox that you like, and you want to watch it, you have to do Hulu. So again, it comes back to, you have to find out what you like, and find out who puts those out, and then search them. So the big three are Hulu, Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon Prime. Those are the big three that make negotiations with the production studios to stream their content. And then there's some overlap, but not a lot, because they each have to gear towards their own kind of niche. So Hulu, I think, has a Fox niche, which is pretty good. And you can see here, we're getting into the tiered pricing again. So, right, so you could pay $8 a month to watch all their shows, but you get ads. You can pay $12 a month and no ads. But what's happening is, I believe they're dropping their free down to $4.99 a month, because Netflix just announced that they're raising their prices for their basic. I think it was the $10.99 one. It's going up like $2. So it's cheaper, but it's got different shows. It functions the same way, you know. You have a player. It doesn't matter what service you have. You find your shows. You click play. It was basically like that guy who was singing earlier, and you just watch it. You watch it here. So one thing this actually is a good segue because Hulu is one of the few streaming services that now offer live TV. And so it's $40 a month now. And you can watch live TV, and you're talking CBS, NBC, Fox, and stuff like that. Most of those stations, you can watch the live TV for a lot more. In addition to all of the on-demand streaming that you can get for their other shows. The first option for live TV online was something called Sling TV. And you have different tiered prices. So you can see it's a little cheaper, but the issue you're running into here is you have fewer channels. So you can see here this is the cheapest one. So these are the stations, and it doesn't look like any of the network stations are on there. So ABC, CBS, NBC, they're not here. So you can keep going up in the tiers. And
How many devices can you do Hulu on? How many devices can you do Hulu on?
I don't know, because they do keep changing. Most of the time, you have at least 2 devices. You'd have to read the fine print
So
on
you
that.
on TV.
I'm sorry?
If you have more than one TV, you don't want to pay for 2.
Yeah. So if you have a smart TV, most smart TVs have the Hulu app, and so. But you're right, because each TV would be a different device. And so what she's talking about is what they call simultaneous use access, and that means that multiple people can use the same account to watch different things. And I think that the baseline is usually 5, but I know Netflix just dropped the plan that I'm on down to 2, so it does depend. And so when you're going through this, just make sure that you read through, because it will be one of the things that tells you is like how many devices at a time, because it's a selling point. But I don't know off the top of my head how many you can. Sling has started. So as you can see here, one thing it doesn't have, Sling or Hulu Live. One thing it doesn't have is Nessun, and I'm a big Bruins fan, and so that wouldn't be something I would do. I have other ways, but I miss it. I miss sports.
So you don't have Nessun? Like, doesn't YouTube?
Because we have Netflix, the library, and a digital antenna. That's basically what we do for TV. And so I watch a lot of highlights. But YouTube TV is the first one to have an agreement with Nessun. But because we have Netflix and all that kind of stuff, we really haven't given into it. It's $40 a month. live again. And this one does have, like I said, this does have Nessun, so you can watch it. It's really annoying because Nessun, I was at a friend's house watching a game, and they advertised the Nessun Go. Sounds familiar, right? Go. And the Nessun Go app allows me to watch Nessun on a device with my cable subscription. So I'm hoping that changes because of something like this. So you can't get Nessun here. We have different agreements, right? So again, you have to figure out, here we go, 6 accounts. Oh, interesting. So that would be, you can collect everything, if your devices. 3 simultaneous. Yeah. So you can see they're getting smarter by advertising their features more and more. And a lot of this, what it means here is these are the hardware manufacturers with the smart TV that allows you to use the app on the TV. So you don't actually need your computer. Again, you still need the internet with all that stuff. So, yeah, we already talked about that. What else we got? So that's Sling, yep. Streaming service. So what's my, here we go. So network streaming service. So yeah, so CBS All Access allows you to watch live TV. HBO Now wouldn't. So if you did get the streaming service and like the new Game of Thrones is coming out late this year, you wouldn't be able to watch that episode the same night. You'd have to wait whatever the embargo period is, usually 24 hours. DVD plans, yep, so Netflix, the DVD plans. PlayStation View, so if anybody has kids or something with a PlayStation View is their online streaming service that has live TV and does have Nessun, so you can actually watch TV through the PlayStation. Kind of weird, but it is connected to the internet. Everything is connected to the internet nowadays. Yeah, so all these costs is the introductory rates. So you can see the baseline here. 5 megabytes. So if you hear Blu-ray, Blu-ray is just the name for DVDs that are HD. So if you're watching on television and it's high definition. If you're watching a DVD, it's Blu-ray. It's kind of like VHS Betamax. There was a Blu-ray and HD DVD, and the Blu-ray format went out. But if you come across Blu-ray, which you will see in our network on the catalog, is you'll see some things that say Blu-ray standard DVD or whatever. So Blu-ray is just HD DVD. No channel surfing, like I said earlier. Kind of tough. You gotta make up your mind. Although you can make your list with a lot of that kind of stuff, so you can kind of channel surf through your list and then watch that. But it's something different. So I actually partner with WCTV, the cable access channel, on that, and so they have a lot of good local stuff like elections and debates and stuff like that. So I always like to mention that is know where your local cable access channel has their content, because if you get rid of cable, you're not going to have the cable access channel. And they're in a tough spot right now because they get a lot of their revenue from cable subscriptions. And so I know WCTV has like a business partnership now where they're kind of expanding. Yeah, so they can partner different things. But they do a lot of good. So if you are interested in, really local news, make sure that you know where your cable access channel stores their stuff. Wilmington has a site on Castus. I never heard of it, but it's there. YouTube and Facebook is usually a good source of information for that as well. Yeah, I had no knowledge about public access until a few years ago, where I started to partner with them as part of the library. And they do a lot of good stuff. And so you just definitely want to make sure that you're aware of that. I don't even know where your cable access channel is. Ours is like down the road, so I can walk over there. But if you are interested in local stuff, definitely check that out. Questions? Yes?
I know your program's about alternatives to cable, and I would absolutely love to get rid of Comcast. I have such strong dislike for them.
Yeah,
But I need them for internet. Are there, I know your
Yeah.
talk is not about internet. Are there internet options if I wanted to
No.
get rid of Comcast and do this?
because it's the architecture, the infrastructure, so Fios or Verizon or Comcast get into the communities and they lay the lines, they lay the broadband lines, they lay the fiber lines, and so they have it. And so you can get rid of, you can stop giving them so much money, but you can't stop giving them.
Altogether.
You can try like DirecTV, I don't know if they have offerings here, because DirecTV has satellite internet as well, and so you can completely get away from them. I had DirecTV, it was 10 years ago now, so the hardware has changed. But you'd be much more prone to atmospheric interruptions. So if it's stormy, or if it's windy, or if it's cloudy sometimes, you have like interruptions, and so it's kind of tough. So it's kind of like, that's why I always like to give these talks, is because I want them to stop cable, just get rid of cable, because they can do everything online, and they already have that source of revenue, but they're not going to give up a source of revenue that's a sure thing. But the more people that switch to internet only, puts more pressure on them.
Okay.
And so, unfortunately, you cannot stick to them, move on. You're still going to have to give them some money, but just don't give them as much money as you don't have to,
Right.
unfortunately.
Okay.
Yes?
Can you see them going to like a menu where you can pick the channels that you want?
Say again?
Can you see the cable companies going to a menu where you can pick what you want, or do you think that's?
The cable, yeah, so there's nothing like that. I mean, you can see the different tiers, right, for the cable stuff like that.
You know, if you wanted.
Pay as you go.
Right.
The a la carte type thing, yeah. So the decentralization of it, like all the networks coming up with their own thing, you can basically do it yourself, right? So you can buy HBO, you can buy Netflix, you can buy the Disney streaming. So you basically make your own unique bundle. But that's how cable really made their bones when it was first coming out. You didn't have to do everything; they did everything for you. I have no idea. Actually, it's money, right? So each network pays a certain amount of money to be in a certain tier. And like I was like, so like basic cable no longer has NESN. So my father was downsizing. He got rid of like he had like HBO. It's been like $250 a month for his internet and cable, and it was ridiculous. And so he cut it down to basic, and it doesn't have NESN. So you're paying like $20 a month. You can't watch the Sox or the Pats. It's maddening, as you can tell. But it's changing constantly, so you have to keep yourself educated because things are changing constantly. Like I've given this talk 4 times now, and every time some new development's happened. So yeah, it's tough, but it's also really tough to look at that bill every month, right? So you got a little more homework on your end, but like I'll tell you, so like when I first cut cable. Besides, once I got used to the channel surfing, the next thing I missed was the clock on the set-top box. Like I had no clock in my living room, so I had no idea what time it was. And that was the next thing I was upset with. I'm like, hey, you know what? It's a little painful. But like after that, after you get through the initial pain, it's a lot better to spend like $70 on internet than a couple hundred on channels. And you only watch like 3 of them.
What does it cost you, when you add up internet and then add up 4 or 5 of these services,
It adds up.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
almost the same as a bundle.
It does. It adds up. So you have to choose wisely, you know. So maybe you do it month by month instead of subscribing to everything that you want at once. Try a month with just Netflix and see what you get from that.
Do
And
you
then get rid of
switch
Netflix.
back and forth
We do.
between internet providers?
No, that's too tough because they have to physically, because you usually rent the router and the modem,
Yeah.
and you physically have to have them come in, and that can be difficult.
Because the price keeps going up. on
Yeah,
that
you can
too.
threaten to leave. My wife does all the negotiating. I can't handle it. She's like, you know what, we're leaving. And you're like, wait. So they'll renegotiate
They
for
still
sure.
have to do that.
Unfortunately. So it's still changing. So
I got a quote today for $102 for internet only from Comcast.
check the speeds. Check the speed they're offering you. Because that might be like, Xfinity, I think, is their answer to Fios, which is fiber optic. And fiber optic means light. And so instead of like radio waves with the broadband, light is a lot quicker, but you're probably not going to use it. Unless you're like a really like high-end gamer, you're probably not going to use it. So it depends, but like I would try to check the speed and see if you can drop the speed down.
Or
and then
negotiate.
Yeah, and then they'll all, so like, start low, right? If you're negotiating a new deal, start low, start like in the middle. Don't go to the slowest speed, because they're probably going to try to throttle you. They'll say they won't, but without net neutrality, there's nothing to really prevent them. So start the middle one, and then if you find that your streaming is buffering, and the buffering just means that you've watched all of the content that's delivered, and so you need more content from the server, and it's slow in picking up the rest of their content. So if you know if there's too much buffering, they'll allow you to upgrade. So start low, and if you need to, bump it up. Yes, ma'am.
There's a device that goes along with a cell phone subscription. It's called a hotspot.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the same size as a cell phone. And it'll pick up internet almost wherever you are.
So the hotspot is using your data channel. So when your cell phone, you have two different wireless connections. You have the data channel, which is the satellites. And so that's traditionally how you would use texting and voice on the satellites. But they've also allowed you to start using data, which is internet. So anytime you're over the internet. And so your data plan is where it gets tricky. So if you have an unlimited data plan, you can certainly use your phone. Any phone, it can double as a mobile hotspot. And that just means your phone becomes your router or your modem. And you connect to your phone to the satellite. And so if you have a limited data plan, you are going to get really hit with costs. Because, so that's the issue. I can see it going in that direction.
Hotspot is used for down the beach to keep the phone and the tablet running for the child, and in the car.
Yeah.
And then when you go to faraway places like Rangeley, it'll work up there.
So again, you're actually getting your internet from orbit. So that's the issue. So we have the Wilmington Library loans out hotspots. Because we're a non-profit organization, we have a deal for, I can't remember how much it was, but it's unlimited data. But the problem you run into is a lot of people have cabins up in the White Mountains. The mountains get in the way, and they can't use it.
Yeah.
So
it's geography.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the mountains get in the way.
Following up on that idea, how many options do you have to be able to find something on your phone you want to watch and cast it up to your big screen?
You have a bunch of options. Yeah, so you have something, if you have, so again, it comes into, we're getting into a different kind of tech giant battle. So if you have an Android phone, so Samsung, Motorola, all those guys, you can buy what they call a Chromecast, and it's just basically a receiver. You plug it into your computer, into your TV through an HDMI cord, and you can cast directly from your phone to your TV. Let's see. But that's only for Android devices. If you have an iPhone, you need an Apple TV. The Chromecast costs $25. The Apple TV costs $150. However, I will caveat that. So a Chromecast has no apps on it. So you can only watch things that you're streaming from another device. So your phone or your computer or something like that. So this is Chrome, so they have a browser as well. And then you have this cast option. And so what you can do that wirelessly from a laptop, any laptop, as long as you have Chrome installed. And you just click the cast button and I can send it wirelessly. So you can do that if you have either a laptop or an Android device. You will need an Apple TV, like I said, but the Apple TV also has apps. So you have different kind of apps, and there's Apple Music, and you can rent and watch videos and movies through Apple Movies or Music or something.
And when you say laptop, you mean PC?
Anything.
Oh, an Apple laptop?
No. So for for the Apple TV, basically it's iPads and iPhones. That's all you can kind of remotely connect to. But if you have a Chromecast, any laptop, desktop, laptop, as long as you install this browser, the Chrome browser, you can cast to.
Apple's laptop will cast.
Yeah, if you have an Apple laptop, just install Chrome, and you'll have this cast option in the browser. So I mean, it's pretty handy because we'll do that every now and then. My wife has an Android, so we have the Chromecast and so we'll cast. It's handy, but like your phone is streaming, so you're limited to the hardware on your phone. So it might, if you're watching too much video, it might kind of buffer for you, and you might have an issue. So yeah. Yes.
What's the best solution for the sports fan?
I would say local sports fan, because so I would say the YouTube TV. This seems to be the best because you get the Nesson, you get ESPN, and you get all that kind of stuff. So you do that. It's more pricey, but if you do like sports, that's going to be your option. So it's kind of tough because that puts it at like $40 and then whatever your internet is. So you're still talking 100 something. So hopefully it's less, but it might not be. So I mean, depending on what your viewing preferences are, you might. I mean, you might walk away with this, and he doesn't know what he's talking about because depending on what you like, and might not have a good answer for you. Yes.
Me again?
And do we have anybody else? Okay, hold on. Let me come back. For the sports?
Yeah, I couldn't hear.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, so if you like Nesson, my recommendation is to get YouTube TV. Right. So it's $40 a month, but on top of your internet. Yeah. So it's $40 a month. So with like a $70 internet, you're up to like 100 or something.
How much you say the advantages? Are there any things like?
No. So at the end, I know we have to wrap up, but I will quickly say that on the back of your sheet, I kind of gave you an example of like the hierarchy of things. And so this box here is the smart TV. On the smart TV, you have apps where you log in and you need a subscription for these apps to watch on your smart TV. So what you can do, what I usually recommend, is just get a computer with an HDMI cable to connect to your computer or to your TV, and then you can stream things directly there. A Chromecast, you don't have any apps, you can wirelessly connect. And then the Apple TV, you would have connected to your TV, and then you watch things through there. So anytime there's a dollar sign, means that's an additional charge on here. Yeah, you can have your computer.
Do you have a preference between the Roku and the Fire Stick?
Say again?
Preference or
On the Roku and the Fire Stick?
bads versus goods? I don't like.
So Roku, you can add stations much more easily. With the Fire Stick, you can't. And so there's also a Roku TV now, which means that the Roku is in the TV. So do your homework. My contact information is in the bottom of your sheet of your handout. If you don't have handouts, we'll get you some. And so if you run into something, just drop me a line. I'll send it to you.
What about renting it versus buying
Renting a what?
the cable TV modem versus buying?
So you have to rent the modem because you can't buy it. Sometimes they allow you to buy the router, which is how you connect wirelessly. They'd say get the N series Netgear, it will work. I did that, it did not work. So they say you can buy the hardware and provide your own, but there's no guarantee that it'll work. And so I don't know whether that's information they're withholding or what.
Or diversion.
Yeah, I don't know, right? They have magical powers on the back
Dealing with
end.
the devil.
Yeah, so yeah, unfortunately you do have that rental fee. But I do want to let the librarians get home, so thank you for coming. Contact information is back.